Did you know that the perfect blueprint for a Power Rangers movie that is epic, grounded, and actually about teamwork was released in 2013? Let's break down the 6 ways in which the giant robot versus Titanic monsters classic Pacific Rim is the template for a Ranger film that we deserve. Step 1. Raise the stakes. Similar to the arrival of Rita Repulsa and Goldar in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the kaiju invasion starts with a sudden bang. Humanity is instantly thrown into a war in which they are unprepared for and almost hopelessly outmatched. San Francisco and its surrounding cities are ravaged over the course of days until conventional military weapons are finally able to bring the 5,000-ton monster to heel. From this experience, we immediately understand that the threat is clear. These are monsters on a different level entirely. It is through much loss and an abandonment of physics that leads the world to put their hopes into giant machine warriors. In the Power Rangers comics, the stakes are also raised. Following the loss of her Green Ranger, Rita does not hesitate to up the ante, recruiting the help of an interdimensional villain to fracture the teenage superhero team. He would turn out to be none other than a variant of Tommy who decided to stay on the side of evil, even when Rita's spell on him was broken. Having conquered his reality, this despotic emperor would set his sights on all other worlds. A future Power Rangers movie would benefit from a sudden elevation of the threat level, along with the introduction of a villain that is perhaps the Rangers' most personal one yet. Step 2. Embrace the scale. In Pacific Rim, Guillermo del Toro correctly pinpoints that having the audience understand the sheer mass and size of robots fighting monsters is key to their immersion and the suspension of disbelief. In addition, camera angles are largely chosen from the vantage point of something or someone that exists in the world. The lens shake and move according to the actions of the kaiju and Jaeger, and sometimes lose focus and tracking of their subjects. Jaegers also move at a speed that is much more realistic for something of their size, lumbering through the environment as gears, pistons, and motors work to deliver the actions demanded of them. However, Del Toro isn't afraid to cheat the defined physics if it makes the action that much cooler. In Power Rangers, on the TV show in particular, Zords and Megazords are generally depicted as being slower than the monsters they fight. The camera angles, by comparison, are not as varied. We rarely get to see the fights from the street level, and only sometimes do we view them from a rooftop. Showing the Megazord as a large, mechanized robot with mass similar to the Jaegers in Pacific Rim would go a long way in making the action scenes feel more realistic and substantial. But they should also make sure that the rule of cool stays in play. Step 3. The ritual of the fight. My favorite scene in the entire movie is in the beginning, where we are introduced to the whole sequence of detection, suiting up, and deployment of the pilots and their Jaeger. Narrated by our hero, Raleigh Beckett, and set to thunderous music. More on that later. The quiet calm of the night is interrupted by a computer, who is the same actress that voiced Gladys in the game Portal, announcing the detection of a Category 4 kaiju, codenamed Knifehead. Raleigh and his brother Yancey quickly wake up and saunter down to the armory, where a seasoned support team strap the 2 fighters into their drive suits. These suits function as both their protection and connection to the Jaeger. Once ready, the 2 step into the con pod, the cockpit and head of their robot, Gypsy Danger. Then, the whole assembly drops into a chute, connecting directly to the body of the Jaeger itself, which is a common trope of the mecha genre. This sequence is a well-practiced routine that serves as both narrative and world-building. It's an inside look to how the whole Jaeger program functions. This is all similar to how a fight begins in Power Rangers. The monster is detected, the team of teens are contacted and directed towards the threat, and they complete a morphing sequence that properly equips them for the conflict to come. A series of scenes that depict this more in the vein of Pacific Rim, showcasing how the Rangers morph and arrive to the fight, would be a highlight of the movie. Do you have a passion and want to make videos about it? Check out my guide to becoming a content creator, filled with everything I wish I knew before I started. Step 4. A lived-in world. Contrary to some, I actually really like how Angel Grove is depicted in the 2017 movie reboot of the franchise. Stylizing it as a small city that exists near the ocean, damp and rainy, sells the vibe of Angel Grove being a former mining town that is slowly dying. In this place, you can more readily believe that our future Rangers are teenagers with attitude, as a lack of hope and opportunities snuff out their dreams and life options. However, there is more, I think, that you can bring to the table to help sell the movie's setting. The parts of the world that we do see in Pacific Rim are in disrepair, constantly rebuilding due to the ongoing kaiju threat. The Shatterdome in Hong Kong is a mishmash of people and cultures from across the world. As the last place of operations for those who still believe in the power of the Jaegers to solve the kaiju threat, it is far less glamorous than the Alaskan base that we see in the beginning of the film. Additionally, the rain and ocean are ever present, both for the atmosphere it provides, as well as the cinematic technique of using it, along with the shadows of darkness, to help hide flaws in the CGI. The technology in the film is also grimy, mechanical, and well used. Power Rangers can use a few more coats of this grittiness, helping to make what is usually fantastical more grounded and believable. Step 5. An emphasis on teamwork. To successfully guide giant robots to victory, it is necessary to entrust the responsibility to actual human pilots. In Pacific Rim, the neural load of driving the Jaegers proved to be too much for a single mind, and thus a two-pilot system is created. Using a synchronization method called the drift, two fighters are mind-melded into a singular consciousness, sharing feelings and memories. The stronger the bond, the better you fight. This is a literal manifestation of the theme of teamwork. It is only by cooperating can humankind survive the kaiju threat. It is quite similar to how Power Rangers command the Megazord. By combining their Zords and sharing a cockpit, the Rangers are able to multiply their individual power levels to take out the escalating danger of grown monsters. A Power Rangers movie styled in the way of Pacific Rim can utilize this method of storytelling to inject more drama into the way the newly formed team must set aside their own biases and differences in order to align themselves towards saving Angel Grove. This is the emotional core of the film. If the performance of the Megazord is dependent on the unity of the team, then failure leads to losing everything. Step 6. Amp up the music. The 2017 Power Rangers movie shifts the score, composed by Brian Tyler, towards being more mood-driven and traditional. In contrast, the music of the TV show, made by Ron Wasserman, is far more rock-heavy, utilizing the genre of metal along with lyrics to accompany the fight scenes. Although the show had additional TV-style background music for the quieter scenes, it is the rock-metal sensibility that has stood the test of time. Based off of his work on things like Iron Man and Game of Thrones, Ramin Djawadi was hired to craft the soundtrack of Pacific Rim. He understood the assignment. Giant robots fighting against gargantuan monsters is inherently metal, and thus, the music reflects this. Through the heavy use of brass, Djawadi creates a wall of sound that percussively drives the action forward. He even employs Tom Morello, the legendary guitarist from Rage Against the Machine, to use his signature playing style to elevate the theme song. All characters, the people, the Jaegers, and even the kaiju, possess their own leitmotifs, basically their own theme song, each of which are earworms and instantly iconic. Luckily, Power Rangers already possesses a legendary theme song. There are few who were kids and teenagers in the 90s who do not know the tune. To accentuate this, a reworked movie should accompany the film with a pulse-pounding score that interweaves the existing catchy theme song along with poignant music to help drive the action and ratchet up the drama. The Blueprint. A follow-up Power Rangers film can elevate itself by learning lessons from Pacific Rim, as well as the comics. So, here's the template. 1. Make the main threat both bigger and more personal. For example, one of the biggest villains in the comics is a variant of Tommy that decides to stay evil rather than become good. He kills Rita after conquering Earth with her, and ascends to become the tyrant of his world. Then, he sets his eyes on the multiverse. 2. Respect the scale of the Zords and grown monsters. Use appropriate angles and cinematography that sell just how huge and lumbering they are, even if they are not physically possible in reality. 3. Focus on the details of how the Rangers prepare for battle. Expand the sequence of monster detection, alerting of the heroes, and the morph into a fine-tuned, well-oiled dance that helps the audience understand the status quo. 4. Further ground the setting in a lived-in world. This is an Earth that constantly suffers monster attacks, and thus the consequences of the battles should be ever present, at least in the background. 5. Highlight the theme and drama through the use of a plot device similar to the drift. Make the operation of the Megazord dependent on teamwork and the synchronization of goals and emotions more than ever before, similar to how Jaeger pilots must be compatible in order to become efficient fighters. 6. Level up the music and lean into what is established in the TV series. Use the existing iconic theme song and layer in catchy leitmotifs that define each character. So what do you think? Could Pacific Rim point the way towards the Power Rangers movie of our dreams? Also, there are a lot of other cool stories and ideas in the comic books that can be the basis of a whole series of films. Check out this next video where Andros, the Red Space Ranger, actually meets Jason, Zach, and Trini. Along the way, he makes a major decision that will result in perhaps the scariest villain the Power Rangers have ever faced. Consider liking this video, or giving it a hype if that option is available to you. Subscribe, and stay tuned for more from Morphin Shorts.